The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB TV.
Hey, welcome everybody to Meet the Candidate. Thank you for joining me here on learning about all of the candidates that we have running for office. We're right in the middle of early voting, so I think it's important that you pay attention. And today's guest is Richard Hart, who is running for Congressional District Number 3. Richard, thanks for coming in.
John, it's a pleasure to be here.
I know.
And I know, you're a great guy. And
go ahead. So I was just going to ask you, how's the campaign going?
it's actually going very well. Meeting a lot of people and just getting the word out.
Okay.
And, normally when I do interviews or I go give forums, I normally talk off the cuff. I felt it was important because we've got 7 days before the primary.
Right.
Early voting ends on Friday, and
Yep.
so make sure you early vote. And if you don't early vote by Friday, primary is on the 12th. So you want to make sure you get out there. And, it's our right to vote. We're have the opportunity, and this is when you can make your decision, and every vote counts.
Well, and forgive me for interrupting, but it's not only a right, it's a responsibility.
Right.
If you're happy with the way things are, then you know how to vote. If you're not happy with the way things are, then it's even more important for you to get out there and vote. I think in the last general election, we had 47% of the registered voters did not even show up to vote.
Right, and we've got a lot of voters. I mean, it just went off. We've got a lot of voters, I mean, on both sides, and our turnout normally in previous elections in the primary is low, and we've got to pick that up. I mean, it is a responsibility, and there's many countries that would love to be able to go out and cast a vote. And so we're fortunate here. And
I'm sorry, have you gotten any kind of feedback on what kind of turnout we've had so far in the early voting?
I believe the last numbers I saw were about 30,000 that have voted in Clark County.
Okay.
So they said that's about a little bit more than it was in 16.
Yeah, that's right. I thought that's a little bit ahead of what it was in the last election. Great.
Right. But John, I just wanted to kind of interject a few things so
Please.
People will know what I'm about.
Right, and that's why you're here, is to educate the voters so that they know what they're getting.
Right. But
Please.
I am, number one, I am pleased to be here with you, and I think that this show that you've been doing throughout the campaign is fantastic.
Thank you.
And, we've got to do more of this and going forward with other candidates for other offices in other elections. And but anyway, I want to say that I've been running a grassroots campaign, and when I say grassroots, it has been grassroots. I've not taken a dime from special interests or PACs or corporations. I've been getting small dollar amounts, and most of the money that has come out for whether it's brochures, flyers, business cards, has come out of pocket. So I am running a total grassroots campaign. You won't see any commercials for me advertising, any big billboards, any fancy door hangers. Canvassing, I am knocking on doors, and most importantly, I am listening to what the people in CD3 are saying. I'm listening to their issues. And I think it's important as candidates or even as elected officials to listen to their needs, listen to what they are looking for in a representative. I'm talking to young people, I'm talking to seniors, I'm talking to teachers, I'm talking to our black brothers and sisters, members of the Muslim community, the Asian community, our Filipino friends, our LGBTQ plus community, or transgenders. I am talking to all races, regardless of one's background, regardless of one's religious beliefs, regardless of their sexual orientation, or veterans. I am listening because I want to bring everyone to the table if I'm elected, and it's a partnership, and I see too many of our elected officials not doing that, forgetting the purpose why they're there, why they're serving. They're your public servants.
Can you tell us what the boundaries of Congressional District 3 are?
Boundary
what does that
starts at Summerlin over by the Summerlin Parkway Expressway.
Okay.
Goes all the way down to Mountain Edge.
Okay.
Into Henderson, out to Sandy Valley, through Boulder City and Laughlin, Nevada.
Okay.
So it's a big district. I have been from one end of the district to the other. There are certain parts of the district that unfortunately I have not been able to get to. But believe me, if I prevail on June the 12th, I will be there. I will be there to see you. I will be there to listen. And I have been open about my campaign. I've been transparent. If they go to Richard Hart for Nevada, everything I stand for is there. Every platform, every issue, I have it on my page. So you know what I'm about. You know what I'm going to do. But one of the things that I have been speaking on is, on top of my platform, we've got to work together. Whoever prevails out of this primary, and I hope it's me, we've got to put our differences aside. Some ourselves progressives, some of us call ourselves moderates, some of us say we're to the left, we're to the right. But what we've got to all remember, in order for a blue wave to happen, we're Democrats. And we're running as Democrats on the Democratic ticket. And I just hope that whoever prevails, not just in my race, but in all the other races, that as Democrats, we will unite. We will get together. And there'll always be differences within our party. I mean, going back, I'm a history buff, and I read a lot about the 1960 campaign. And President Kennedy was not the favorite. He was too young, he was immature, he was a Catholic, the Pope was going to run things. Leaders of the party like Adlai Stevenson and LBJ, he was not their favorite. Harry Truman, they wanted somebody else, and they tried to, as they used to back then.
They wanted someone more established.
Right, call it in the back rooms, the smoke-filled
Right.
rooms. Now we've got superdelegates at the national level. But back then it was the smoke-filled rooms. And he prevailed. You know, he got the people enthusiastic about him. And he got the nomination. And then a lot of heads turned. They realized what a great leader this guy was. Age did not matter. And unfortunately, his presidency was cut short with the assassination. But we are a party based upon great leaders. FDR, Harry Truman, JFK, LBJ, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. And they were leaders that throughout their time, they got the country moving. And maybe some of those leaders that they were in a campaign today would not be elected because they're a little bit too moderate or a little bit to the left, but in their day they did a lot. LBJ with the civil rights, the Voting Act, Medicare. Barack Obama took over at a time when we were almost getting into a depression worse than the Great Depression. President Kennedy sending men to the moon, which didn't happen during his time, but that was he envisioned. So we've had bold leaders in our party. We've got to remember what our party stands for. I'm the son of a World War II veteran. I'm the son of a union organizer. That's what he did. So I'm not new to this. I'm new in terms of running. But I have spent my life being an activist, fighting for the poor, fighting for LGBTQ plus community, fighting for our dreamers, fighting for our seniors. Because since my early age of 6, 7, 8, my father instilled in us we had to do something. Didn't matter how young you were. We knocked on doors for Robert Kennedy. And after he was assassinated, we knocked on doors for Hubert Humphrey. And from that moment on, I continued to do something. We marched with the farm workers when they were on strike for many years. There were things that were not on our kitchen table, like grapes.
I was just going to say the grape
Yeah.
boycott. Yep.
And what a grape was, because they weren't there, because that's how strong my father believed. During the 1976 convention, because one of the things we were made to do is we were Democrats. My father and my mother were lifelong Democrats. Never voted Republican, and I have never voted Republican. But one of the things they used to have us do is, during the conventions, look at both conventions. You've got to look at our party. You've got to look at the Republican. He didn't like President Nixon very well, but we looked at his inauguration. He believed that we had to know what was going on. And it was during the 76 convention on the Republican side that my mother, my younger brother, and I nearly lost our life. Our home was shot up. We had bullets coming through the home. My father was dedicated to helping people. And as a union organizer, one of the things he was concerned about is that as an organizer, if you didn't win, if you didn't get a particular business to join the union, well, you lost your job, or
Yep.
you were suspended. So he tried to put together a union within a union to protect their rights. And back in those days, it was a no-no. He tried to put it together. He was organizing it. It was right before the elections for the members to vote on this. And the president of his local had some guys come. They drove. We lived in a corner lot. There was an alley behind us. And one evening during the Republican National Convention, all of a sudden there was gunfire. My younger brother missed it about this much. He was lying in his bed. To shut him up, they had sent my father to Bakersfield, California on a wild goose chase.
So that the family would be there alone.
Right.
Yeah.
My other brother, Michael, who's my campaign manager, he was the older one. He was just coming home from work, I believe. There was police all over the neighborhood. They were asking who his friends were and everything else. And when he told them about what was going on with my dad and the union, immediately they got a hold of the Bakersfield police to escort him back. He was escorted through I don't know how many counties coming back into LA County. They had cut his brake lines. But my dad did not give up. He was not going to be stopped. He was doing something he believed in. And he went through with it. Unfortunately, he lost their fight. And then several years later, he was forced to retire. But that's how we were raised. We were raised to be active, to do for others. That if you think you have it bad, there's others that have it worse. So I didn't wake up one morning and decided after the 2016 elections that I was going to just do this. I didn't put together a platform because it looked good. This is what I have fought for in my life. And it is important for the voters to know, and it's important for those that are undecided to know that I am committed to serving. I do not believe that any opponents in any race for any office should tear each other down, and I have run a clean campaign, and I like all my other 6 opponents. We see things differently even with our own party. I feel, of course.
Well, if everybody agrees on everything, we're in trouble.
Well, that's what I mean. We see things differently.
Right.
We have a different approach. I feel that I am a problem solver. I'm a small business owner, and when I say small, not making $100,000 a year. We clean homes and we clean offices and we do some painting. So it's a small business. But I have been involved in the political process as an activist. I decided it was time to get involved. It's time to do something, to do my part as my parents did before me. And so, but I believe opponents on either side should talk about issues and not tear each other down.
Okay, so speaking of issues, and you've been through your district and talking to people.
Correct.
What are you finding are the issues that are important to them?
Our seniors are concerned about paying for their Medicare benefits out of their Social Security. I believe there was an increase in payments. They hear us talking about Medicare for all, which I believe every person has to have health care. And so I got to say I am for Medicare for all. But also, in listening to the concerns of our elderly, and believe me, there's 90% of our voters in CD3 are senior citizens. I've talked to people who are 98 years old, and God bless them, they're still going out, they're voting, and they're active. And I would like to see legislation put forward that would end them having to pay for their Medicare benefits out of their Social Security. That should be a given.
Well, the Social Security is something that has basically been a savings program for
Right.
them. I've paid into it my entire
Right.
life, and it's not a gift. It's not something that
You've earned it.
right.
And so the Medicare benefits, as we're talking about giving health care to everybody, you should not be paying for your Medicare out of your Social Security. You earned it, you worked for it, should be attached to it.
Well, the opponents of that say that it won't work, that it's not a good model. And I would like to point to the military and to our veterans. It works very well.
Right?
I mean, most of my medical care, in fact, all of my medical care comes from the VA. And I've gotten 100 times better treatment and care from the VA, which is Medicare for veterans. I mean, basically, that's what it is. And better than any private insurance I've ever had in my entire life. And so it works if it's done right.
Correct.
And it's I don't have to worry. I have an issue, medical issue. I can't do anything about it because I don't have insurance, or I don't have this, or you know,
Yeah.
my daughter, or you know, my family, you know, can't get the medical help that they need because they can't afford it, and the drug's too expensive. So, you know, and I'm sure you see this with a lot of the seniors who do not have any kind of medical care, that they're making decisions on, okay, do I buy my medication for my blood pressure this month, or do I eat this month?
Right.
So,
And you know, I had the situation, my brother and I, with our mother, who passed away in 2015. And prior to, she had a massive heart attack in 2012 that made her bedridden. But prior to that, it got to the point she was a diabetic. She had high blood pressure. She had all different other issues. And some of her medication were $300, $400, $500.
Mhm.
And she'd get into that donut hole and then it was like, well, I can't pick up this medication because that's, my think her Social Security benefit was
Well, she should have worked harder and taken better care of herself when she was young then. So, listen, we're getting a little short on time, so why don't you make sure that you get your point across and what you want to say.
Okay. I am, again, my name is Richard Rick Hart. I'm running to be your next congressman in Nevada's Congressional District 3. I feel that I am the best candidate in going toe-to-toe with whoever the Republican puts out there. And I feel that I am a problem solver and I can work to get things done. I intend, if I'm elected to be your next congressman, to start holding town hall meetings throughout every end of the district, to be there, to listen to your concerns, and to tell you what's going on, to be responsible to you as the voters. Whether or not you vote for me or not, and I win this primary and I prevail in November, I will be your congressman, and I will serve each and everybody, Republicans, independents, Democrats, and even those that may not have voted. I am for DACA. I am for dreamers. I am passionate about Medicare for all, which is a right and not a privilege. I'm for education forgiveness of student loans and tuition-free colleges. I am passionate about our LGBTQ plus community. And half my campaign team are members of Stonewall, where I announced a woman's right to choose.
For those of the viewers out there that don't know, what is Stonewall?
Stonewall of Nevada is a Democratic caucus,
right,
centered at the LGBTQ plus community.
Thank you.
And it is a good organization. I love everybody I have met there, and I urge others to take a part with Stonewall, to go and listen to their issues, to go and talk to them, to see their concerns. I believe the rights of all. There should not be that we're trying to make sure a certain group's right is protected. We should all have the same rights. We're all human. And it's not for politicians to say, I don't believe, because that's not in the Bible. It's a separation of state and country. And that's what our country was founded of. I'm for the minimum wage, increasing the minimum wage. I'm for the enforcement of common sense gun laws, assault weapons ban, banning for profit prisons, federal legalization of marijuana, ending the school to prison pipeline, not privatizing the VA or Medicare, improved access to benefits to veterans, improved benefits for seniors, net neutrality, and many more. But most of all, I am listening to the needs of our voters. And one of the things that voters are telling me is, I know you're running for Congress. I know you're at the federal level. You have nothing to do at the state level. But what I would like to see is our congressmen at the federal level actually working with our state legislature, with our leaders here. And that's what I intend to do. So I urge you to get out there and vote. I am passionate about campaign finance reform and getting the out of politics and voting candidates into bought and paid for, because until we get the big money out of politics, things are not going to change. And so I am a man of the people, and I hope I prevail in this primary. Things are looking good. We're making a lot of contacts. I've got people all over the district networking for me, as well as our canvassing. So we're just going to have to, I'll be out there knocking on doors, canvassing, making phone calls, visiting groups, probably until
The last
an
vote is
hour
counted.
before, yeah, an hour before the polls close. And if for some reason I don't prevail, I am promising the people of CD3, I'm promising Nevadans that I will be back. I'm not going to say I didn't make it. But right now, got to say, in terms of how things are coming out, it's going to be an interesting race in CD3. I'm glad to be a part of it. I thank all my opponents in CD3, all 6 of them, for their commitment to the community as well. And I'd like to say thank you to you, John Stiles. Thank you to all of the Democratic groups who have held forums for us. And thank you for just bringing me into your living room at your interview and other events, and making me a part of your life. But, you know, if I'm your candidate, I urge you to go to Richard Hart for Nevada. Look at my page. I am listed every issue I stand for. There are major endorsements, not from corporations, not from groups, but from individual people, from voters who have seen my campaign and have come out for me. A Republican who has actually done a video for me, who has a home here in Nevada, who likes what he's heard. And so I'm winning a lot of people who are seeing what I'm talking about. But we've got to remember that the main goal is to see that we elect Democrats, and that we all work together. And we've got to find common ground. And I feel that I'm the best person to do that if elected to Congress.
Now, you said Richard Hart for Nevada.
Richard Hart for Nevada.
Is that the number 4? Is that FOR?
FOR.
Okay.
FOR.
Just to be clear.
I am also on Instagram. I am on Twitter. And, you know, I am looking forward. I'm as passionate about this campaign and getting into the primary as I was when I got in. And what makes me passionate about it is people, is doing something for the people. And, you know, when I got into this, politics is politics. And you know when you're getting into a campaign, you may not have a chance if you have somebody in it that has more name recognition or a little bit more money to run their campaign. But you don't know what's going to happen. And so that's the thing. You've got to remain true to your values. You've got to stay passionate, because whatever happens at the end of it, the fact that you're doing something, that you're listening to the voters, that you're listening to the people, that makes it even more worthwhile.
Okay. Well, Richard, I'd like to thank you for your time and coming in and helping us get the word out and help educate the voters on who's running and what they're all about. So thank you all, and we hope to see you next time. Bye.